Cambridge 105 Radio.
So, Susie, it is a stressful time of year, isn't it? November, December, Christmas coming up. Do you get a bit stressed out this time of year?
Well, I try not to. That's the thing. You try your hardest not to. And then as soon as you realise you've missed summer and you've gone straight into Christmas, you think, wow, is it that close?
But are you one of these people that buys their Christmas presents in about April, so
No.
you're all sorted for
No.
Christmas?
That's the thing we don't do anymore. We were just talking about that tonight at dinner. We were saying how ridiculous it got. There was about 25 of us, and we would have a little present each. And I think the boys were so cheesed off that we had to open up all the presents before we could start dinner. They did a strike and said, "Can we have Secret Santa?" So now we just do one present between.
That's better, isn't it?
It really, really is. I mean, what about you? Do you find that?
Well, yeah, we don't go wild, it has to be said. I'm usually up in Scotland. But yes, it's quite a big family. We do all tend to buy gifts from us to them. But we don't do it just before dinner, you know. We do it.
That's cruel,
we're not
isn't it?
Total sadists. What we do is we do it in the morning. And then, you know, and then it's kind of, or lunchtime or something like that. And then it's kind of done. And then you can kind of relax and have an aperitif. And then you have your lunch, you see.
Yes.
So
that sounds very
how we do it.
organised.
But the royal family have got the right idea, because apparently they buy each other something silly, cheap and silly. So a little joke, really. That's what they do at Christmas.
So the thing is, what about Christmas crackers? Do you make your own Christmas crackers?
Well, my sister-in-law did last year. She made her own Christmas crackers. And there was a conversation point in each of them. So we all had to kind of deliver our
cool.
conversation point. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it worked. Yes, that was good. I'm not a big fan of buying really expensive Christmas crackers.
No,
I think they're a bit wasteful. And you get all that junk inside. And again, it's just plastic.
It is,
really.
yeah.
You know.
So, I don't want to be Scrooge, but I think it's important to think about these things. And you can still have a great time. And you don't have to spend a lot of money, do you, really?
No, you don't.
No.
It is about the time of year. It's about being together and maybe just giving a little gift, you know, something small and meaningful.
So your question originally then, Linda, do we get stressed? Well, we try not to, do we?
You know what stresses me out? Writing Christmas cards. And I know a lot of people have stopped doing that, but I'm still on that treadmill of I feel I have to do it. I don't know why.
Well, I think if you start early enough, and I guess that you do start a little bit early, Linda, as organised person that you are.
I just tend to get on with it and do it in one major sitting, which just it becomes dreadful. That's stressful. To help with the stress, to eliminate the stress, we've got two fantastic women on the programme today. One is Nicci Roscoe. She's got a new book out, actually, Manifest Your Everything, and she helps people to become what they want to become, let's put it that way. But she does crystals, she does all kinds of new age things. Brilliant. So she's an excellent guest, and I think you'll be really interested in hearing what she's got to say.
And then our second guest is a lady called Yasmin El-Saie. Now, she's an entrepreneur, but she's renowned for her expertise in yoga, Reiki, and dog anxiety. I'll be so looking forward to hearing what she has to say, how to help dogs with anxiety and also yoga. She talks a lot about yoga and a lot how it's helped her really focus on herself. Now, I've only just started to get into yoga, but she is so for it. It's fascinating.
So let's have a calm Christmas.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Suzie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
A warm welcome to our guest, Nicci Roscoe. Nicci is a true powerhouse of resilience, transforming lives with her mind medication process, inspired by her triumph over a life-threatening brain tumour. With vast media experience across TV, radio and print, she's now sharing her insights with her latest book, Manifest Your Everything, published by Seco Books Worldwide. Now, how has Nicci's unique, holistic approach helped herself and many to reclaim their best selves and conquer stress and anxiety? Let's find out. Welcome to Women Making Waves podcast and radio show, Nicci.
Oh, thank you very much. It's really good to be here and chatting to you both.
It's lovely having you here. It really is.
Yes, it is. You're a professional inspirational speaker. You're an author and corporate and lifestyle coach. It sounds really involved and really, really interesting. Do you enjoy what you do, Nicci?
Oh, I love it. It gives me so much pleasure to be able to give others and see others benefit from everything I do, because I'm actually a holistic health and well-being practitioner. So I combine everything I've done through the life coaching, through NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and training in meditation as a meditation teacher and a Reiki and crystal master teacher, amongst other things. I just find combining everything and having a background in the fitness industry as well has really, really helped to make those changes with other people. And when you see it, it's like, wow.
That's lovely when you can say wow about your day job, isn't it? You were mentioning earlier about your early careers. How did it all begin with you? I know that we would like to touch on the life-threatening brain tumour that you had, Nicci. What was your career before that?
So actually, when I was 14 years old, I worked on a radio station at Radio Brockley Hospital. It was called Radio Brockley at the time, at the Orthopaedic Hospital in Stanmore, Middlesex. It was Nicci's Hour. And I used to love helping people and helping the children's ward and helping them on the adults ward and talking positively and just helping them to look at things positively. So it kind of stemmed from really early on. And then later on, I worked for Company magazine, national magazines, that's now the Hearst Corporation, and I became assistant fashion beauty editor and fitness editor. And I remember doing the company council pages and answering questions when people used to write in for help on certain situations in all areas of their lives, really. And from there, I then went on and became a head of aerobics at the David Lloyd clubs. I'm not going to get anyone jumping around now. But I used to love it. I used to teach loads of classes. But it was a huge thing for me to see people come in feeling really tired and exhausted, but to help them with music and feeling good and exercising their bodies and then doing a beautiful relaxation at the end. That's what really got me into as well meditation later on, even more so. And then from there, I went on to TV, and one of the first things that I did was I went on to national TV with Lorraine Kelly on the morning show, which was very exciting. And I was talking about postnatal exercise. So I did part of a video with Lorraine Kelly on postnatal exercise in the 1990s. And there were lots of other people on this as well at the time. And that was fabulous. Really enjoyed that. And then I went on live for the first time. It was amazing. Following that, I ended up then working for Sky TV, and I worked for a program called 1 to 3. And I was their health and fitness expert, and other programs as well, and radio too, BBC Radio London, LBC, and various other radio stations as well. So lots and lots of that happened then in the 90s. Really, really big.
Fantastic. That's quite the CV that you've got there. Actually, Susie and I both did stints doing hospital radio as well, funnily enough, actually. And Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. So, yes, we know exactly what that's like.
It's so rewarding, isn't it? Did you really enjoy it?
It is.
Yeah.
There were some really poignant moments, actually, when I was doing that. Just amazing, people being quite open about their diagnosis, and some weren't going to be leaving. And they would say, it's great listening to you because I get to phone in and ask for requests and listen to things I want to listen to. And yeah, really, really good.
I'm interested in the 1990s and the 1980s. You had Jane Fonda and you had other people that were very sort of in with the new exercise regime. Was it a very important era for us as a nation or worldwide how do we discover doing exercise in a way that made us want to do it every day? Because I think 80s was that moment, wasn't it?
I think, well, the music was huge.
Yeah.
At the time, and everybody loved that and embraced that so much. I mean, Jane Fonda, that really did come into its own. And Saturday Night Fever, you remember that fabulous film?
Yeah.
I literally was supposed to be at college and I didn't go. My friend, I'd already done my secretarial course. I said I wanted to get out into the world. I'd already done my secretarial course. And my friend wrote my name on the blackboard to say that I was there. And I used to go to the dance centre, which was in Floral Street in Covent Garden.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
And I used to go to all the classes and we were dancing Saturday Night Fever. It was fabulous.
Yeah.
I don't think I've talked to anybody about this because I had the best time. And I had this teacher called Frank. We called him Frankie Baby. He was amazing. But there was also the group Hot Gossip. So Hot Gossip were there with their very, very long legs. I was probably the height of their legs going up. And Arlene Phillips was teaching there. It was buzzing. It was amazing. It was the most exciting time. And my parents did not have a clue that I was there. I was so naughty. It was brilliant. And I sneaked into the back of the class once with Hot Gossip. And it was fine. They just thought I was one of the whoever I was there.
That's brilliant.
As part of the gang. But yeah, so I do think that the exercise craze really came from that as well, even more so. You know, as technology has evolved as well, with the gyms and everything else. And, you know, fitness has been around for many, 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 many years. And my grandmother was doing fitness years ago. But it has evolved and it's just became obsessive. I would say it became quite obsessive at one point with many people, but then Jane Fonda really got into it, and then I really got into it. And I just had the best time teaching my classes. I was teaching dance classes and circuit training classes and bums and tums, and I brought over from the States, there was this amazing thing called a body bar, which was sort of came from the gym into the dance studio, basically. It was a weight, like a bar weight in different, it was fabulous. And I just developed all these different classes. And then there was the step. Do you remember the step?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I fell off many a time, but yes.
Yeah, so I had great fun with the step and everyone was just really into it. And it became a huge social scene as well.
Yes, that's true. It did. You're right. That was something I was going to pick on, actually, because it created a community. And we didn't even have social media then, but we had areas where people would hang out as opposed to hanging out at a pub sometimes. That was, for me, very enlightening at that time, how people would meet for exercise. And I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, no, after the class, literally everybody descended, downstairs onto the cafe, and we'd all have dinner together. And in the mornings, people used to come, and then we'd all go and have coffee and lunch. And it really was a social scene. And I remember taking a whole group one year to Bournemouth for a fitness weekend. I mean, I was handing out sweets on the coach. It was such fun. It was a fitness weekend with sweets. No, but it was so fabulous. There was a swimming pool there, and we had races, and then we did workouts outside, and we went for walks. We had karaoke in the evening. But it was an era. It was another era that isn't the same now. It's changed now. Fitness is looking different. People are so much more serious as well about it than they ever were. They really are. I love going to the gym now. I enjoy it. I have fun. But I haven't been to a class actually for a long, long time. I suppose because I used to teach classes, if I go into class, I want to keep saying to the teacher, why are you doing this? And why don't you do that? So it was fun. It was really great.
Susie mentioned something earlier on that in 2001 you were given some really devastating news. Can you tell us about that, Nicci?
Well, I was... Previously to that, I was working on television and radio. I was on the radio one day and all of a sudden my speech went funny. I literally said, the word elephant instead of hippopotamus, if you know what I mean. I was saying the wrong words, and I couldn't understand why these strange words were coming out of me. And I was told that I was very, very stressed. I thought, but I'm not stressed. I feel great. Apart from that, I didn't know what was going on. And then when I was teaching, when I was doing some exercise, my coordination wasn't great. So, fast forward nearly 5 years on, and in 2001, in the December, I was out shopping, getting some Christmas bits and pieces of food in the supermarket, as one does. And my trolley was so full up, and all of a sudden, I felt literally like a thunderbolt had smashed me in the head. The pain was excruciating. Honestly, I didn't know what had hit me, and I couldn't see because the light was too bright, and I couldn't speak. And I just stood there, and I was, oh my God, what do I do now? What do I do now? And luckily, one of the staff there saw me, and it felt like forever, but they took me to sit down. And I was told, eventually I got home, but I was told, oh, you've got a headache or a migraine, go lie down, take the tablets, and you'll be fine. 3 days later, I was not fine. I was in excruciating pain. Spoke to a GP that knew me then, because the other one didn't know me. And he said, I'm going to phone a neurologist immediately. And they did. And I was sent to have an MRI scan in Queen Square in London, which was petrifying the first time ever. And after the wait, which was about a week, I was then told that I had a brain tumour, and it was the size of a golf ball.
Wow.
That must have been absolutely terrifying, Nicci.
I was so frightened. I mean, the first thing I said was, am I going to survive this? And he actually said to me, the neurosurgeon, he said, if you don't have it operated on, you'll be dead within 5 years. But I would be a vegetable within 2 years. So I had no chance.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed. I was very lucky. They said to me, I may lose my speech, as you can hear. I can stop talking. Because I love speaking. And they said I may be paralysed down one side of my body, and I'm so blessed I'm able to move. Yeah, I'm just very, very, very lucky.
So from that amazingly traumatic experience, something bloomed after that, did it, Nicci? You started something quite different. Was your approach to life obviously very different from that, which would be for a lot of people, wouldn't it, going through that moment?
It was. I was so grateful to be alive, and just waking up every morning, it was like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I was left with 3 bolts and 6 screws in my head, along with this loose screw that I have in my head as well, apparently. And I was left with excruciating chronic pain. So I live with chronic pain. And I thought, I need to do something about this. I'm not going to just be given pills and just lie down and do nothing with the rest of my life. I need to get out there, and I need to help people, because that's what I'm all about. And I need to help myself to do that. So I went and trained as a life coach, because it gave me a different perspective on everything and how to look at things. And I found that fascinating, and that really helped me, which then helped me help others. I then trained with Richard Bandler and Paul McKenna as a master NLP practitioner, which is neuro-linguistic programming. So neuro is the brain, linguistic is what we say to ourselves, what we say, and programming is how we program that. And then from there, I trained in Reiki, which is universal life force energy, which is just incredible healing. It's natural, it's gentle, it's beautiful, it's channeled through your arms, coming out your hands, and I love it. And I'm now a Reiki master teacher, and I must have about nearly 40 Reiki master teachers in the world now, so I'm so proud of that they're out there doing the work as well. And then I trained in crystals. I've always loved crystals. I've always been fascinated with the stones, but as a child on the beach in Bournemouth, I loved playing with all the shells and the fossils. It was wonderful. So for me, crystals they're just something very, very special, and their vibrations and their energy amazing. So I trained as a crystal master teacher, so I also teach crystal healing, and I give Reiki and crystal healing treatments and energy healing along with talking therapy because of all the different qualifications that I did, but also because of the experiences that I've had. I've been able to really help others so much. And then because of all of this, I wrote my book, which is my most recent book, Manifest Your Everything, which is all about loving yourself and creating your dream life by literally releasing any pain that you've got mentally or physically, and then giving yourself that love, following that, then manifesting what it is that you really want in your life. So, and I've done it all myself, and it works.
I'm kind of fascinated about that because I was reading about your book and tell us more about manifestation. I have heard about it before, but tell us a little bit about it.
Well, so for me, manifestation is all about focus. So if we really want something and we really put our mind to it, but what we want is manageable, it's something that's not crazy that we're asking for, like £1 billion in tomorrow or something, but we're really looking at something that we really do want, and we focus on that and we do everything possible to focus on it. It's amazing, it's incredible how even if it doesn't happen that next week, it could happen 3 months' time, it could happen 6 months' time, a year down the line, 4 years down the line. Whenever you're ready to receive it, it can happen. But you really do need to focus on that to make it happen. But when we manifest, if we're going through challenges in our life, if we're going through upset, pain, in whatever way, physically and mentally, that we can't cope, that we're feeling overwhelmed, we need to manage that and release whatever it is that's going on with us in our lives. And once we've done that, once we've released the pain that we're going through, we can then, as I said before, start giving ourselves that love, it's nurturing ourselves to give us what we need. And then we can go and get what we want. Then we can start really focusing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. There's like a theme going through your life, I think, Nicci, about looking after others. But I get the impression that through your life you want to help people. And even from the early age of 14, you were doing this. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yes, absolutely. It's very, very important to me. From even younger than that, but I probably didn't even realise it at the time. I just wanted to give and make everybody feel good. My grandmother, my mother's mother, if she wasn't well, if she was unwell, I just wanted to sit with her and be with her and make her smile and feel better. Or if I saw somebody that was upset or somebody on the side of the road that was sad, and at the time I didn't realise that they may be homeless or they didn't have anything, and I just want to go and help them. I want to do something. And then in my mind I'm thinking, what is it with these people? What do they need? What's going on with them? Why are they so unhappy? How can I make them feel better? And I think that has carried on. But for me, my big things also in my life is my family, my son and my daughter, and my 4 absolutely beautiful grandsons.
Wow, lucky you.
Absolutely.
That's really nice.
So, Grandma, or as I'm otherwise known as Gaga Red, because one of my grandsons started that because I got a red car, so I'm known as Gaga Red, or Grandma Nicoli. I never know who I am. It's the best feeling in the world. It's so wonderful. The love is just amazing.
I know it's not the only book you've had out either, but Manifest Your Everything out quite recently, and I'm assuming that you've been running around doing lots of promotion and stuff like that. That must be quite exhausting, Nicci.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, actually, it's really enjoyable. I absolutely love it. I mean, I was at the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, and that was wonderful having my book there and talking to everybody about it and showing everybody and hearing the interest in it. And I have a workshop that I developed before I wrote the book, and it's called Love Yourself and Manifest Your Dreams. And I do this several times a year. And my next one is going to be in January, on the last Saturday. It's a wonderful workshop, and I literally work through the book. We have a massive cauldron, and I take everybody outside and we burn everything they want to say goodbye to, which is wonderful. So we have a release, and then they hold this cord, and I cut the cord so they feel that release as I do it. And then they all come in and give themselves love, and we have some aromatherapy oils and do lots and lots of other beautiful things with crystals. And then we do the manifesting bit in the afternoon, and it's so exciting. So yes, that's my Manifest Your Everything book that I wrote. And previously to that, I wrote a book called Fabulous Impact, Step into the New You and Rewrite Your Own Script. And that was all about confidence, boosting your confidence, feeling good about you, finding courage in your life. So that was really interesting. And then it came to this year, and I was speaking to my publishers, Seco Books, and I said, I really would love to do something to talk about, how people can distract themselves. And meditation for me is one of the key areas that can really help us to gain clarity, calm, and just to find that beautiful peace. But not for everybody. It's really challenging to sit and meditate for 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour a day or twice a day, as some people may do. So I thought, what can we do to make this so much better that everybody can do? So I've written a book that's coming out in the spring, in March, and it's available for pre-order now, and it's called Micro Meditations. And it's all about different micro meditations that you can do for moments of calm, for a happier, healthier life, and just to help lift your mood in the moment. So literally anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes that you can do to help you feel so much better about you. No matter what you're feeling, overwhelmed, frustrated, everything is in this book to help you, and it's very exciting.
Well, that really is exciting. I think it's lovely.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I love the idea that it's micro meditation, because when you're, I don't know, even in the loo at work, when you've got that moment when you just have 2 seconds out, and you're really, really busy. Sometimes just being in that cubicle for a couple of minutes makes me feel better, and I can go out and face everything again.
There's something you can do on the loo.
Yeah. It's quite funny, actually. I thought you were going to bring the moment down there. You dug yourself out of a hole, that one. But no, it is interesting, as Linda said, about micro meditation. I think sometimes we're so overwhelmed by social media, the news, and we get so much of it from every angle. Sometimes we have to get away from it, don't we? It's important we get away from it. So micro meditation sounds such a good idea.
I know that these all work. Even things like literally stopping for a moment, focusing on your breath, counting as you're doing so, even looking at something, looking at one thing for 2 seconds, then looking at something else for 2 seconds and something else. Before you know it, you've looked at 5 things and you've spent a couple of seconds on each. And whatever it was you were panicking about or thinking about, that's gone out your mind in that moment because you've stopped and you've refocused your mind on something else completely.
What was the best bit of advice you've ever received or want to remember from your journey so far? Is there someone who's really thought, and you've actually thought about, or maybe you've seen it on TV, or maybe you've actually spoken to somebody on TV, but is there something that really sticks out for you?
With the TV side of it, I remember Lorraine Kelly saying to me, always keep your feet firmly on the ground. And for me, that was a really amazing thing to say. I met her many years later, actually. And I said to her, I always remember you saying that to me. So whatever you've got going on in your life, basically always stay grounded. Always keep yourself grounded to avoid the overwhelm. And then on the other side of things, my grandmother, bless her, always said to me, don't let anyone ever put you down. Always stand on a pedestal. Put yourself on a pedestal. Imagine you're on a pedestal and stand tall. So there you have Lorraine Kelly telling me to stay grounded and ground myself so that you really are solid going through your life. And then my grandmother telling me, and don't ever let anybody put you down. Always stand on that pedestal. And then my mother's always said, and put your red lipstick on.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Actually, Linda, have you had that sort of advice? Can you remember something?
Yeah, I remember my granny as well, and my mum kind of saying to me, look, if you want to be respected, then respect yourself as well.
Yes.
Which is exactly what your granny, I think, was saying to you as well, Nicci.
Yeah.
The piece of advice that I was going to tell you about was I asked my friend, I just got a puppy 6 years ago, and I'd never had a dog before. And so this was big for me. This was really big and a big responsibility because it was not only a puppy, but it's going to be a golden retriever, which are huge. And I said, just give me something. You know, she'd had years and years of experience. And she said, look, this is the piece of advice that was given to me. Never be a slave to your dog. And I went, yeah, that's great. Because it gives you the freedom not to feel like you ought to. Of course you're going to look after your dog. Of course you're going to be responsible. But it was something about looking after me as well as looking after my dog, which I would do anyway. I just love those moments where you think about what somebody has told you. And I think it guides you, doesn't it, through life?
Yeah, I always remember those words. Every single time anything ever crops up, I always think of them. And I think that's so important. I love what you were both told. I think that's amazing. Amazing.
Oh, it's been brilliant talking to you, Nicci. We've had a fantastic time.
And you.
It has.
Lovely.
How can people get in touch with you, Nicci?
So people can email me to Nicci, Nicci, at manifestoreverything.com, or they can go onto my website, which is www.mindmedication.co.uk, and there's a form on there if they want to send me a message, or otherwise they can find me as Nicci Roscoe on Instagram or on Facebook.
Oh.
It has been lovely speaking to you today, Nicci. Thank you very much for joining us.
To you. Lovely. Thank you.
You're listening to Women Making Waves radio show and podcast, brought to you by Suzie Thorpe and Linda Ness. This show is all about women doing extraordinary things.
Our guest today is Yasmin El-Saie, a dynamic entrepreneur renowned for her expertise in yoga, Reiki and canine anxiety. Known online as Chili Wawa, Yasmin, alongside her beloved Chihuahua Chili and his friend Suki, have been captivating a huge audience on both Facebook and Instagram. Committed to educating dog owners, Yasmin is passionate about helping them recognise and manage anxiety in their pets. Welcome, Yasmin, to Women Making Waves.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So this is not something most people are aware of, Yasmin, that lots of dogs who suffer from anxiety can be helped in a holistic way. So why has it become a mission of yours, as well as your other expertise in yoga and Reiki?
So I think for me, it came about because the funny thing was I never knew that I had anxiety myself. It took Chili having symptoms and signs of anxiety for me to realize what it even was. I remember we used to go out of the building onto the pavement and I would just see the signs in his body. I would just see him tense up. He became all stiff and like his ears went up, and it was like, you know, he was looking for all the dangers that could possibly come our way. And I just started wondering, I was like, why is he so tense? What is he so stressed about? And it took that to make me realize how tense and anxious and stressed I was every time we left the building. He was a mirror for me. He made me realize my own state of anxiety. And it's a really awful feeling for anyone who has had any episode of anxiety to constantly live in this fight or flight or freeze state where everything is just too much, and you're constantly feeling like you have to protect yourself, protect others, and always look out for all the dangers. It's absolutely exhausting. So if there is anything we can do holistically, also through changing our patterns, through doing things that soothe our nervous system, it's just so important to me, because it directly affects our quality of life. And this is for humans as well as for dogs. I mean, if you know what it feels like to be anxious, why is it okay for your dog to be anxious? They're experiencing the same kind of sensations. It's just very, very exhausting.
And I assume, Yasmin, that the dog is feeding off you, that the dog is realising that you're anxious and therefore the dog is becoming anxious as well. Is that how you think it works?
Well, it's definitely one affects the other, because whatever you're feeling travels down the lead to your dog. And the closer you are to your dog, the more your dog will also experience your emotions. It can also be vice versa. It can also be the anxiety of your dog coming into you. Because if you're very connected and you feel that nervous, anxious energy, it can affect you as well.
It is interesting you talk about it, because the first time I've had a dog was 6 years ago. I had a puppy, and Linda also has a little kitten. So we can have a lot of empathy for this. And a lot of our friends and family have dogs. But it's not the sort of thing, Yasmin, that people talk about. We're all very conscious of the fact that anxiety and mental health is very, very important to help and sort. It's become part of the rhetoric, hasn't it, in very recent years, and it's become something not of a stigma. But do you think it's still quite a stigma for dogs?
Well, I think, like, from my own experience, most people just don't understand. What I experienced over the years is that people tend to have this expectation that all dogs are cute and fluffy and they are to be touched and petted and stroked whenever a stranger feels like it. Without regard as to what the dog wants or who the dog is. It's like this expectation. Dogs are just, these lovable, cute creatures. And I think it's also a matter of validation, because when you stroke a dog and the dog is happy, to see you, it makes you feel good. It's like a feel-good factor. But I don't think most people think about the fact that not all dogs have the same temperament and not all dogs wish to be approached. I think this is like a new concept, because what has happened to me so many times, and it still happens to me, because Chili is reactive as well. So because he's so tense and so anxious, he reacts. He doesn't retreat. He like barks and defends himself. So people just say, oh, what a horrible dog. Or they say, oh, he's in a bad mood. Or they react that way without regard to anything about him. And I find that quite surprising. And then when you do have the occasional person who totally gets it, and they sometimes even find his attitude endearing, that's always really refreshing and nice to see. But I think on the whole, a dog's emotional state is a new concept.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're not toys, are they?
No.
They're sentient beings. And you wouldn't expect to go and pat someone's granny on the head just because they look quite sweet. They would have something to say. And it's the same with all animals, isn't it? It's the same with dogs and cats. They're all their own little beings and with their own little ideas. So this is really interesting. So how do you go about calming animals down? What's the process? What's the treatment?
So I find, to start with, for me, one of the easiest things is because animals in general are so in tune with nature, with oneness, that the minute you create peace inside yourself, it just rubs off on them. They naturally gravitate to a grounded, peaceful person and a peaceful state. So for example, I meditate every day, and just sitting in that calm and that peace is incredibly beneficial for a nervous animal. In that state, animals will come up to you, they will approach you because they just feel safe and calm. So that is like a very simple thing to do. Also, exercise, burning off a lot of that nervous energy is really, really beneficial, especially if you can take a long walk in nature. Because you get grounded, the animal is grounded, walking with their paws on the grass. You are grounding yourself, you are in contact with Mother Earth. And it's something that also creates a bond between the two of you when you go for a long walk and you're connecting with nature. So it's like this whole union, nature, you, the dog, the trees, everything together. And afterwards, for Chili, after a long walk, he just calms down because he's burnt off a lot of that excessive anxious energy.
There's a lot to be said about that. You're absolutely right. And that's obviously for humans and for dogs, having to expend their energy is definitely, it definitely helps me. And I assumed it helped my dog. It is something to think about. Yasmin, can we talk about how you came to where you are now? Where did this all begin for you? Why did you get into holistic teaching?
So I think, as probably for many people who enter the world of some form of healing, for me it came from a place of survival, where I got to a point in my life where things were so difficult and so challenging, and I just knew that however it is now is not the way forward. I needed things to change. So I began this quest, this internal quest, and just started just by meeting people. It's one of those things, once you set this kind of intention to the universe that I want to change things, I'm looking for solutions, but I don't know where, I don't know how, the universe puts the right people in your path and they suggest things to you. They may recommend a book, may take you to a lecture, may take you to a healing circle. I started experiencing all these different modalities. I started meeting spiritual masters. Some things resonated with me, some things didn't resonate with me. And then somehow it just led me to my first yoga class. And don't ask me why, but I just had this intense desire to try a yoga class. And I went and I never looked back. For me, it was just life-changing. And for me, the yogic path was the one which really resonated. I really felt that love and that connectiveness, and also that, as you're saying, that respect and that love for all sentient beings, for everything around us, for Mother Earth, for nature. It's an all-inclusive form of practice.
And you practice Reiki as well.
Yes.
I believe you're a Reiki
Yes.
master. And you practice that healing dogs as well.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
That was like the next step. Yeah, because for me, just experiencing these magical sides of life, it's just something I am so, so grateful for. And to be able to heal with this universal energy, this divine energy, just this sheer connection, and to share it with dogs, for me, it's just like a dream that I am able to do this.
And if someone brings a dog in who just won't settle, because it's about keeping your hands in close proximity. I understand. I've never actually seen Reiki close up, but I believe it's about keeping your hands in close proximity. What if you have a dog who's just running all over the place and won't settle down? Does that happen?
Yes, of course. You never force it on the animal. The animal chooses whether or not to receive the treatment, the healing. But this is the whole thing. Like, what I do is I just sit down on the floor. And I just go into my meditative state, that heart connection, that connection, the universal connection. And you just wait and you just let the animals settle at their own pace. And they eventually do. They eventually do. And some may settle, then they, get a bit twitchy again, but they start feeling that energy. And it's something also, perhaps, if they're not used to it, that they need to get used to. You can also start sending the Reiki. You don't actually need to be close. You can do it from a distance.
Wow, I really would love to see that. Your clients, What sort of clients do you have? What's the typical client?
That's a very difficult question to answer. So I've treated all kinds of conditions, like physical things like hip problems, joint problems, heart issues, upset tummies, obviously anxiety, stress. It's a real range, but it's usually people who, I guess, how should I say this? There are people also for themselves who will just, go to the doctor, get some pills subscribed and take them. Or there are people who then complement their healing with alternative things, holistic measures. So it's more that kind of mindset, I suppose, people who are more open and also want to and can give their animal as much as they can give themselves.
When you are helping a client's dog, does it help the client in many ways to see how you are working with the dog? Does it give them sort of an idea of that this is how they can behave with themselves as well as trying to teach the dog? Does that make sense?
Well, the general response is once the person is there and the Reiki healing has started, everyone relaxes. Everyone drops into a space of peace. And that in itself, when your nervous system just goes into rest and digest mode, that alone just enables healing and regeneration. Just that in itself is already of huge benefit.
That's really interesting. And sometimes I'm kind of assuming that people will come to you with quite serious issues, and they will have to have that complemented with medical intervention as well, if it was cancer or something like that. I'm assuming that's an additional thing that you're doing on top of the medical interventions.
Yes, it works amazingly with any form of medication and, as you say, medical interventions. You can even use Reiki to treat the actual medicine to make it more potent.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that. And you're also a heart minister. What does that mean, Yasmin?
So initially, the only way for yogis to deepen their practice and to deepen their understanding of yoga and to be more immersed in it was to become a monk or nun. And this comes with a huge change of life because they renounce their worldly lives, they give up all of their possessions, they live a celibate life, they even shave their hair off symbolically, and they live a life of pure service. But I think in the 60s or the 70s, there were a lot of yogis who were already married and already had families, and they wanted to have a way to show that same devotion and have that same deepening of the yogic practice. So they introduced a yoga ministry, Integral Yoga did, where people could train to be an interfaith reverend, and they didn't have to renounce their worldly lives. They could have both. They could be married, have their families, and at the same time have that deepened yogic practice. So this is what I was ordained with as a yoga heart minister.
Wow, that's really interesting. That must be another enjoyable part to your life, Yasmin.
It is, and I'm still figuring out what exactly my main role as this yoga minister is in this lifetime. They say that your purpose, it comes to you. You do not choose it. So I'm still finding my way in that, and I am wondering if it is somehow also related to animals and dogs.
I read somewhere that you are officially able to marry people,
Yes.
perform childbirth blessings, any religious ceremonies, and bereavement support. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a huge honor. Sometimes I can't even believe it myself.
That's great.
And it's just the whole training, the whole experience was just one of these special things. It's a kind of once in a lifetime thing for me. And it was so special also to share it with other students who I've known for many years. It's something really that bonded us.
At what age did you start doing yoga? Because I've seen you in some poses on your social media, and you look very, very flexible, very, very fit. Have you been doing yoga since you were very young, Yasmin?
No, I started it quite late.
Well, that's not fair, Yasmin. I thought you were going to say earlier. That really isn't. Now I'm...
Yes, I was 5 years old, sorry.
There's hope for us all, I would say, actually.
Yeah. Yes, true enough.
Yeah, I was probably around 30.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had found it younger. Like, I really wish. But it just changes your body. It changes how you move, your agility. It changes you.
I'd like to touch on the social media aspect, because you mentioned earlier about Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. How does that affect you as a person when you have to interact with social media? Of course, it's part of the course. It's the most important thing when you are trying to be an entrepreneur. You want a following. Obviously, it goes hand in hand. But how do you deal with social media, Yasmin?
So it's actually quite hilarious, because when Facebook first started, I used to think it was like the worst idea in the world. I did not understand people's needs to share private things publicly. I did not get it. I was like social media phobic. And I remember whenever a friend would post a picture of me or something, I would have like a meltdown. Because I felt my privacy was totally invaded. And here I am now.
I understand that.
So for me, like, social media, I really enjoy it because it is about the dogs. It's about, Chili and his character and his life, and Suki as well. And somehow I got pushed into it a little bit as well. So it's the three of us. But it's something where it's still lighthearted, it's fun, it's entertaining. I also use it to talk about the anxiety, so a bit educative. But I try not to get sucked into this whole vanity side, just to keep it fun and not too heavy and not too, just to keep it as grounded as you possibly could keep social media grounded. I think it used to be more fun. Instagram especially used to be what it was, an instant thing where you just instantly share stuff. But of course, all these platforms have become more and more business driven. So I think that aspect of it has been quite challenging to adapt to, because all of a sudden, you're seeing everyone else producing all these high quality images, high quality videos and this and that, and you have to keep on top of trends, and then these algorithm changes. So it's changed from something that was very fun into something that is a lot more rigorous.
I was also going to ask about the social media side, because as we all know, social media has two faces, and there can be the kind of mean side as well. Have you come across that, where people are making disparaging comments?
Well, I've had people commenting on my posts saying that I should not be allowed to have dogs because it's criminal to put them in jumpers and God knows what.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I've had a few haters saying things like that, but I just delete them.
Yeah, that's the best way to treat them, I think, actually. When I saw how many followers you had, I thought there was bound to have been one or two that the usual kind of horrors.
Yeah, and I think you also need to remember that once you start having haters, it's a good sign.
Oh, is it? Now you're turning it on its head. So how do you reach that conclusion? Most people are sobbing into their hands.
If you've managed to cause such a strong reaction, that means you're being seen and you're being heard.
Yes,
even if
true.
They don't agree with it and they hate everything about you. But they see you. They've noticed you.
Yasmin, do you have a particular favourite spiritual place in the world or the UK that really you can connect with? Is there something that you just think, this is where I want to be? Is it mostly at home, or is there a place in the world that you really love to go to?
Oh, that's a great question. The beauty of what I practice is I can just instantly connect anywhere I am. Like, it doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing. I can always connect to that oneness, that universal love. But there is one place that really springs to mind when you say a special place, and I have to say it's the pyramids in Egypt.
Wow.
Yes, like being next to them, it is like a mind-blowing experience. There's something in the stone, in their energy, in the whole like location. There's something.
There's one pyramid you can go into as well. Have you been inside the pyramid?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Oh, good for you. I didn't. No, I didn't. It looked a little bit claustrophobic to me.
It is a bit.
Yeah, I know. I didn't fancy it. But also, I had a young child at the time, so I had a great excuse to go, it's all right. I'll just stand here with our daughter and you go in, brave husband. And off he went. So he was keen to go inside. But he said it was great, but it was very busy. He said some people were having a bit of a meltdown in there because of the claustrophobia. Yeah.
But I like the way you say, even being outside, just being near it, that you have a specific feeling. That sounds really interesting.
I remember when I was a kid, there was nothing there. There was like no police, no chains, no nothing. It was just three pyramids in the middle of the desert.
It's been fascinating talking to you, Yasmin. It really has. It's lovely. We love it when we meet interesting women, and you just tick that box.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. How can people get in touch with you, Yasmin?
Probably the easiest way is to go on Chiliwawa on my Instagram and just send me an email or a message.
Yasmin, thank you so much for being our guest here at Women Making Waves for Linda and I. We've really, really enjoyed it.
Indeed.
Oh, thank you so much. I loved every minute of it.
That's all we have time for today on Women Making Waves. Our thanks go to our guests, Nicci Roscoe and Yasmin El-Saie.
We're always on the lookout to feature women living extraordinary lives, so please do contact us if you know of someone we should be talking to.
You can contact us via social media on X and Facebook at WomenMW or on Instagram at Women Making Waves.
You can also find us on cambridge105.co.uk or visit our website womenmakingwaves.co.uk, where you can hear all of our interviews.